Hey y'all, this is the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 10, titled Unpaid in Full. And if you enjoy this review, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So it continues off with Tiffany crying and stuff, and then Stormy goes to get Kimmy to come and help. And in the confessional, Stormy says that she's one of those people in situations that are high energy and she likes to take charge, and said that when she saw Tiffany in pain, all she thought at the moment was to get her water and to get her a nurse. And so she went to go grab Kimmy and to see if that could help solve the problem, basically. Stormy whispers to Kimmy that she needs her because Tiffany is feeling labor pains. And now, I've never been in labor, but that did not look like that. And it just seems like everybody was just so stressed and worried about Tiffany all this time, even though she hasn't been stressed and worried about herself. And it all could have been solved with something simple, as you see later on. But like I said in my last review, this felt like all of that tension, all of that negativity that she started was all brought into one room, and her spirit and her energy literally just could not handle it. It couldn't take it. So her body just reacted. That's what happened, in my opinion. Kimmy's coming over to check and asking what the symptoms and stuff are. And Tiffany talking about she's seeing stars. And Stormy's like, we need to call 911. Tiffany's like, no. And Kimmy's asking, like, why would you not want to call 911? Like, someone needs to check your pressure. And Stormy says that they think someone should call. And in the confessional, Kimmy says that she's not sure where Tiffany's head is right now because at the second she can barely stand up, and says she's not sure why Tiffany isn't listening when they say that she needs to go to the hospital. You know, having a baby is an emergency situation. And at this point, a bunch of people are crowded around in the room, and Stormy starts to call 911. She couldn't get no service in there though at first. Like, that was kind of crazy. But then Big Lou says he's just going to take her, and he picks her up, drives her off in the pickup truck, and Stormy's just staring on, you know, with a concerning look on her face. And that's the end of that scene. So they show a bunch of construction area and things like that with Marceau. And in his confessional, he says this is his first project, Sculpt. His company has finished with Gino and is huge, and he wants to have the moment captured with a photographer, and he's looking forward to a positive future with the company. And then, you know, Maurice is giving him his accolades, telling him he's proud of him. And Marceau says thanks, and Reese asks if they'll be able to get everything, including Scott Manor and Tisha's office space, done soon. And Marceau says when Tisha tells him what she wants to do with her stuff, or like with the office, Marceau basically says that Tisha don't really know what she wants. And just as he was about to start talking more shit, Tisha walks up in her little Barbie fit, and, you know, they jab and talk to each other or whatever. And then the man of the hour, Gino, walks up. And then the confessional, Tisha says she and Gino got off on the wrong foot because Marceau hired him and gave him her office space. And my thing is if y'all can move back and forth from house to apartment, from apartment to house, how can't he just get you a nice little office space? Like, I don't understand that. But then they show a clip of Tisha talking to Gino and Marceau about her office space or whatever. But then Tisha says Gino's been a great addition to the team, and he and Marceau work well together. And then everybody comes together, including Gino's daughter, to come take a picture for the project development, you know, and everything being done. And then in a confessional, Marceau says now that Gino's on board, he can take the lead on projects like this, and then Marceau can focus his energies on the Blaque Expo and stuff like that. And Tisha's like, right, you know, so you can help me and we can be a team and support each other like he should have been doing these past few years, right? Marceau tells Tisha and Maurice that he was thinking about how he and Martell used to work together, and how even though he and Gino just met, that they're able to lay their pride aside and figure out how to get the work done. Marceau says he really wishes that they can figure out a way to work like that with the comeback group. And I'm like, I thought it was a core 6. Didn't y'all just change it? Or didn't y'all say don't call it a comeback? Like, stop playing with me, y'all. We've been doing 6 seasons with this comeback group shit. It don't even exist no more. Marie says part of the issue is ego and humility, and when they first started the comeback group, it was about what they can give, and then money and pride and other stuff started to get in the way. And Marceau says that's why they are struggling with the expo, because they aren't paying people to speak for it. They're just trying to push it forward. And the thing is they understand that, they're just trying to get everything out, but people aren't volunteering their time for free anymore. It's like everything is for a price, even for regular, day-to-day stuff. Trying to get a ride from somebody, there's a price for something. You need somebody to help you move something, there's a price. Everybody wants to be bribed, and it ain't always about that. Tisha says it's not about the money for them, it's about giving back to the community and the people who've supported them over the past years. And Marceau says it's a gift to the community that's given them so much. And then he says he's just asking the comeback group basically to pay their time to the community. And then Tisha says that they're about to have a meeting about it, and so she definitely wants everyone to express their feelings, and she really like it if they could end on a good note and come together and be a movement. And Marceau says that he just wants to know who's in and who's out. Well, here's some news for you. If you're not paying them, they out. Mel is meeting with her white man attorney from like season 1 or 2, and in her confessional she says Caleb has been her attorney since all this mess started, and now he's helping her with her custody case. And then, he asked how she is, and she says she's good and thanks him for being able to talk with her, whatever. And then they get into her name change, and she says she's already dropped the Holt name and wants to go back to her maiden name, and asks where they are with that and how long it takes legally, on paperwork. Caleb says that no one who can object to the name change, but what's holding her back is that she can't be a party in any active court case in any jurisdiction in the world or in the United States, and she is not having that shit. She like, what? And then Mel rolls her eyes and says, so you're trying to tell me that Martell tried to control me when she was his wife, or when she had his last name, and now he's still trying to control her now that she's trying to change it? Well, technically, ma'am, not really, because this is a government issue type of thing. This isn't Martell saying, well, I don't want Mel to not have my last name no more. This is just a legal issue. You've been with this man so long that you're in this custody case now, so you can't get your name changed. It's because y'all in this battle. And I guess she's saying, oh, it's Martell's fault that they fighting, but it's both of y'all fault, because y'all could come to some kind of agreement, but you're not. So it's not really Martell's fault all completely, it's both of y'all. Mel says she's not happy about that at all, but then says she was surprised at some of the things in the case being asked for, like her phone records and stuff. Mel says she felt that was evasive, and Caleb says that they objected to a decent amount of things that was asked for. And Mel was like, yeah, because then they asked for my social media passwords. And Caleb says that he's never had a judge force his clients to hand over their passwords to their social medias. And this is just a sidebar, but from some of the YouTube videos I've been seeing, apparently this judge that they have for their custody battle is low-key all on Martell's side and be asking Melody for a whole bunch of wild shit. So that's where I feel like this comment came from. Mel says that they even wanted to know about anyone she's met up with since the divorce in a romantic way, and then asked Caleb, like, why does that matter? And Caleb was like, it doesn't. And then Caleb asked, how are things going with Martell though? Mel says she knows Caleb's had to send Martell a letter in the past for him to stop popping up at the house and the excessive phone calls, and tells Caleb that part has calmed down, and that definitely makes her happy. And Caleb, does a little nervous laugh and says, that's good. And Mel says that she guesses, unfortunately, they'll have to wait until the case is over for her to do her name change. And Caleb says, yeah, and Mel looks pretty disappointed. And I guess I would be too, because she doing everything she can to distance herself from this man, and it just ain't working. But it'll happen at some point, if they can get into an agreement with this custody case, period. So this scene is about Martell and his little Steve Harvey suits, basically. In his confessional, he says he's excited to meet with this Miguel Wilson man because he's an award-winning fashion designer. And Martell says that he don't let the suits wear him. He wears the suits, period. And then, he meets up with this man and the woman, and they get into all the ins and outs of wanting to make suits and how do you feel about them, and, what makes you feel good, and what kind of design are you looking for. Basically, Project Runway type shit. It's like, no. But, this seems something that Martell's excited about. So hopefully he can make his coins from this. I wasn't too excited about this scene. As you can probably tell, I'm rushing through it a little bit because it was a filler scene. Because my thing is what's going on with this builder's license, sir? All this drama with Tiffany, what is going on with the builder's license? Make your coins however you can, but I'm just saying. But then again, Martell is his looks, and that's the easiest way he can make his money, so do what it do. And I only say this because I follow all the cast from Huntsville on social media, so I've seen that he's been in DC and in Maryland, doing these fashion things. So everything basically worked out for him with this Miguel guy. But yeah, I'm still on that builder's license type thing. Yeah, for sure. In the confessional, Martell says he thinks this is an amazing opportunity for him and that he and Miguel's taste and stuff are somewhat of the same. So he thinks this would be a good way to start in the industry, the fashion industry, and that, he's a single dad of 5 and that he has to be financially stable, and he feels like this would help build generational wealth. He says that along with his Inez wine, and I'm like, I don't know about that one. And before the guy can be like, okay, yeah, we want to work with you, Martell kind of forces him to say it or like spits it out, be like, so are we working together or whatever? But he ends up getting a job or whatever, and that's the end of the scene. There you go. So Big Lou is bringing Tiffany food here in this scene, and in the confessional he says rushing Tiffany to the hospital was a very serious thing for him, and he says he was scared and he didn't know what to do. And then Tiffany says that the doctor confirmed that she needed to slow down and to drink a lot of water, but says that the baby is okay. And don't forget to shut up too, Tiffany. You need to do that as well, because maybe that will keep your health nice and intact. Stop running your mouth, Tiffany, and maybe you'll be fine. But then Lou asks Tiffany what she's working on, and she says she's working on her last business trip. And he's looking at her and says that they just had a big scare, and that's why she's in the bed right now. So why isn't she listening? Like, she needs to slow the fuck down. And Tiffany says that this is just the last one, and she promises that she'll slow down. And it's like, look, if everybody is concerned about you and care about your health except for you at this point, then what is wrong with you? Like, you just don't care. And this whole scene proved to me that she's a child. She is a child trapped in a grown woman's body, because it's like someone has to nag at her for her to listen. No, Tiffany, don't do this. No, Tiffany, don't say that. No, Tiffany, no, Tiffany. Like, you nagging at a 5-year-old. That's just what this whole scene proved to me. She just wants somebody to cater to her and take care of her and just be the big bad boss while she causes all this bullshit. A Karen. Big Lou starts to get real sentimental and emotional and says slowing down is serious for him, and that seeing her going into the emergency room and he couldn't help her, that was really scary for him, and he don't want to go through that again. And Tiffany kind of starts to apologize, but not really, for putting everybody through that. And Lou says, you need to just rest, and Tiffany is not trying to hear none of that. And then he tells her that he told her that if she couldn't control herself and slow down, that God would do it for her. And he was trying to get her attention, and that hopefully it doesn't take something more severe for her to slow down and just get through this pregnancy so she can be healthy and they can have their child. Lewis says that he's about to go on the road and he can't be there to monitor her. And Tiffany says that she promises to eat and drink water, but she's not slowing down. And I'm just like, this man just cried about you. He almost fought half of Huntsville for your ass. He literally picked you up, carried you to his truck, rushed you to the hospital, crying because he's worried about you and his son. And you're telling him that you still can't just chill the fuck out and slow down. You don't react when he cries about you. Like, you do not care about this man. You don't like when he cries. You don't like that he's emotional. Like, you just yuck. This lady got more compassion and concern and feeling towards Kiki and Tisha's messed up family relationship, and towards Martell and Melody and their messed up blended family type shit than she does towards her own husband, and it seems like towards her own child and her own health. Like, that's some childish shit. He talking about something, I can't monitor you. She's a grown ass woman. She shouldn't have to be monitored. But the way she moving around here, and it's like everybody else cares more about her health than she does, that's some childish shit to me at her grown ass prehistoric age. In a confessional, Big Lou says Tiffany thinks it's okay for her to travel, and she says she's talking about one weekend, it's one trip, she'll fly first class and drink plenty of water. Some shit that a child would say, oh, I'll drink water. Lou says to Tiffany, so you mean to tell me you going or wanting to go to take a trip justifies the fact that she just got out of the ER? And she says, yeah. And he asked her, so her speaking arrangement is really more important? And she says yes, and she like laughs. It is. And then she says like, it is. And she thinks it's funny, and then she looks at him and her smile goes right away immediately, like a child caught doing some bad shit. Like, girl, this nigga is serious about your health and you think this is a joke. She don't deserve him. She don't. And she probably knows it, but she don't care because now she got him, and that's why she's trying to keep him. Bombarding him with a surprise wedding at a baseball field and throwing this baby thing on him, and you not even caring about your own health, but you wanted this baby so damn bad. Girl, bye. Tiffany says that they never talked about what happened outside of the shower, and she asked Big Lou how that went, and he sighs and says that Martell felt bothered about the questions that she asked Sheree, and says that Marceau said, well, he was just there because it happened at Blaque, and Lewis still doesn't know what that had to do with him. And then tried to make a little jokey joke calling Marceau Betty Crocker, always trying to stir some shit up. And Tiffany, bust out laughing like, girl, shut the fuck up. It was not even that funny. Lewis says that he understands Martell's perspective, but Marceau didn't have anything to do with it, and says that Marceau just wants to be relevant and stuff that doesn't have anything to do with him. And he says that he doesn't care if all of that happened at Blaque or not. And Tiffany says that she really thinks that she needs to work on how she brings certain things up. And I'm like, what? She's taking accountability? Is Jesus coming back? Like, what is going on? Did she really just say that? Tiffany says she also needs to work on her timing for bringing certain things up. And Lewis says, and it really rubs people the wrong way because they don't know her. And I'm like, and she doesn't know them, so he needs to say that part as well. And then Tiffany says, yeah, but just a reminder, she wanted to get to know Sheree. Girl, cut the cap, because you lying like shit. And then she says, but one thing she does stand on is that she tried many times to extend herself to Melody and Martell to offer any sort of expertise or experience when it comes to blended families. But when Marceau asked if she thought she was an expert, you cussed him out from Sunday to Saturday. So I'm just confused. Don't steal his shit now. Tiffany said she wanted to know from Mel, does it bother her that Sheree's been around her kids? And at what point is Mel going to be open to meeting her? And Lewis just keeps asking her, like, why does it matter? That's a great question. That is the $1 million question, Lewis. Why the fuck does it matter? Please find out from us, because she don't want to explain it to anyone else. So as I was watching this scene, my thinking cap came on, and I'm like, so is Tiffany's other baby daddy dating someone right now, and she's jealous, and that she just wants to meet who this person is, and that she's projecting her situation onto Melody and Martell and Sheree? Is that what this is? Because that's what it sounds like it is. Somebody find out for me. Tiffany says it matters because she thinks it's healthy for their relationship, and Lou says that that's not her place though, and asked Tiffany how many times has Mel reached out and asked Tiffany for her advice, and Tiffany says okay, and Big Lou asked her a few times, like, how many times has she asked you, or needed any advice, any co-parenting advice? And Tiffany just leans back like a child and just kind of whispers and says, Melody doesn't ask. And Lou says, huh? And she was like, Mel doesn't ask. And Lou says, so sometimes people have to be receptive. Like, he's talking to a 5-year-old. Like I keep saying, like, I don't know how he married this girl. I don't know how he did. Because he was forced to. That makes sense. Like a Karen would. Okay. Lewis says, anyways, don't keep putting him in no shit. And I'm like, all right now, Big Lou, you better put that foot down. Let her ass know. And Tiffany says, so she's putting him in shit when his friends are the ones who put themselves in it? And Lewis says, because he's the one who has to respond to it. And Tiffany says that she doesn't have time for these stressors. And Lewis says that's his point exactly. And that's the end of the scene, really. Like, don't pull that, oh, I'm pregnant, I can't be stressed out shit now on your husband when he just cried to your face about you taking a break and shit because he was scared that he had to rush you to the hospital, and now you talking about you don't want these stressors. Stop causing bullshit, and maybe you won't have to take no accountability for your mess, but you don't want to do that anyway. Ciao. Let's go to the next one. So we're at a scene with Kimmy and Mel, and they're the first to show up to the little Blaque Expo meeting, and they say their hellos, and Mel's like, oh, you got a binder? And Kimmy's like, yeah, she wanted to be more prepared than she was last time. And in the confessional, Kimmy says that they got the call for meeting number 2, but says, quite frankly, they haven't heard anything from Tisha Marceau since the first meeting, and a lot of them still have a bunch of questions, so hopefully they'll try to get some more info and move forward. Mel asks Kimmy how she feels about the whole Blaque Expo thing, and is she going to be a part of it. And I'm feeling like Mel asked that to see what Kimmy's going to say so she can make her decision. But Kimmy says that she still hasn't fully wrapped her head around it and wants to know from Tisha and Marceau their thoughts in regards to it being their project or like a group project. Kimmy says that she feels in her heart that the initiative Tisha and Marceau are trying to do with the Blaque Expo is a lot of the same stuff as the comeback group, which it is. And Kimmy basically just says, call it the comeback through the Blaque Expo. And at first I thought it wasn't a bad idea, but then I wasn't like so sure. And then Mel says that, she's just being honest, but that so much happened when it came to the comeback group that she thinks most people are trying to steer away. And I was like, yeah, because the name is garbage at this point. Like, it's stained. If anybody in Huntsville or anybody who watched the show hears comeback group, they're going to roll their eyes because it hasn't been anything other than a whole bunch of back and forth. Kimmy says to Mel, well, by most people was just her, Melody. And Kimmy says everybody else wanted to still do the comeback group and still, they're still paying their taxes and stuff. And so if they're going to keep it and not dissolve the comeback group, then they should still use it. And Mel is like kind of nodding her head in agreement, but not really. Kimmy says she gets Mel not wanting to go back to the comeback group, and she doesn't disagree that most of the time that they've met, it's just been continuous long conversations and meetings about nothing. But when the last meeting came up in like season 2-ish or 3, maybe 1, 2, or 3, and Mel was like, let's just dissolve the group, nobody else did. And Mel says that she gets where Kimmy's coming from. But Kimmy says that if they can get that part cleared up by, this meeting, that, that will help move things forward. And Mel asks, with her mouth full, where's everybody at and why are they the only two that's there? And Kimmy's basically like, because we're the only two that's there. Like, girl, don't act like you new to this. Tisha and Marceau are always late. In the confessional, Kimmy says Tisha and Marceau are notorious for being late, but it's their meeting, and she says that she thinks it's disrespectful to be late to a meeting that you're hosting. They get into Kimmy's treatment and how she's on her last leg with her radiation, and Kimmy says some days are better than others, but what she really needs is a vacation. And Mel says, well, you should go. Where do you want to go? And she has this little look on her face like she already knows where Kimmy's going with this, but she's just trying to indulge her. And Kimmy says that she doesn't know but to where she wants to go, but she asked Mel where she was. And it seemed like Melody already knew Kimmy kind of had her. So she was just like, oh, she was out of the country. Kimmy asked Mel what part of out of the country where she was, because she saw arms and legs and crab legs and tacos and all kinds of stuff. And Mel is just shaking her head, and Kimmy tells Mel that she knows what she's asking. And Mel is just smiling and cheesing, just shaking her head like she don't know. Kimmy says there's a pic of Mel with a man's arm wrapped around her. And Mel is just like, And Kimmy asks Mel if she has a new boo, and asks Mel if she doesn't want to share. And Mel says no, she doesn't. And Kimmy asks why, and Mel says because she doesn't have to share everything all the time. But she's cheesing hard about whoever this person is, in my opinion. Kimmy says that she didn't say that Mel had to share, but she's asking. And Mel says, yeah, but it's one of those things. But then she suggests St. Bart's for Kimmy's vacation. Like, she tries to change the subject hard, child. That was smooth, though. Kimmy asked Mel, so you just going to change the whole subject while I'm trying to ask you about your new boo? And Mel says, you know what? St. Bart's will be a great thing to do for after her radiation is over. And Kimmy tells Mel to stop deflecting and says that she can't post pics and then think that they won't ask questions. Mel says nah, she doesn't have any problems with them asking questions, just like she doesn't have a problem about not saying any of her business. And Kimmy says, how can Mel figure, because she can see it all over her face, like how happy and how she's glowing. And Mel says that she appreciates the love and support and says God is good. And they kind of kiki a little bit. They both chuckle. And in the confessional, Mel says that she can't really say when she'll be interested in talking about her new relationship. And she's not really interested in putting who she's dating, all out there on the forefront of everything else that she got going on. Because who she's dating isn't as important as all of the business opportunities that she's making happen, basically. But everybody and their mom was pissed that Destiny wasn't trying to let everybody know who she was dating. But because Mel is Mel, y'all gonna let her do what she doing? I don't know. I want to know who this man is, because Martell can tell us about his guest, his buddy, old pal, Sheree. But I want to know who Melody is with. You on this show, I want to know about your life. Marceau and Maurice show up 30 minutes late, and then Martell walks in, and Melody's whole demeanor just changes. And Martell goes to shake Mel's hand, and Mel says, what's up, but doesn't really shake his hand. And Martell's like, for real? And she's like, yeah. And then he walks away. In the confessional, Martell says it's not going to cause Mel any harm to shake his hand, so he thought it was childish that she wouldn't do so. And he says that, they got to show that they can coexist in the same space without any animosity, and thinks that Mel is getting off to the wrong foot already. But then I'm thinking, I don't know, after hearing that conversation about Sheree's P word, I really wouldn't want to touch Martell either, so I get it. Tisha finally comes in, and in the confessional, she says she hopes they can figure out who's in and who's out. And I'm not gonna lie, yeah, that coming in late shit is not okay, because they've been doing that from season 1. They gotta stop that. especially if you want people working for free. Tisha in the confessional says that they're there to seal the deal and talk about moving forward. And Marceau says right, and that they aren't paying anyone, so if that's on the table, take it off. Well, y'all ain't gonna be happy about this, cause woo child. Tisha says the last time they met, she asked everyone to email her on if they were on board and any topics that they wanted to discuss, and she hadn't received an email from anyone, so she'd assumed that they'd talk about it there. And Kimmy says that she figured that they would get an email from them, and Marceau says that they did send one and got no response, so they were going to see if everybody wanted to talk about it again. And Kimmy says, you got no response? Okay, bet. And Tisha says she thought she did while she was checking her phone, and Maurice is checking his phone too, but then Tisha says that it didn't matter, and Marceau says that they aren't pointing any fingers. And obviously this thing is not as organized as it should be, because they're trying to take it all on their own, and I get it, they're trying to give back to the community, but you can't use y'all collective idea and not expect to pay them, so I understand that. Tisha says she knows that they talked about money and paying people, but that she's decided that they aren't going to pay anyone not within that group to be a part of the expo. And Mel in her confessional asked if she heard that correctly, and that, are they really willing to not pay anyone within that group for their time, but are willing to pay people outside of the group. And Mel says that she doesn't get it, but she wants to know what the reason is. Tisha says she feels that since 2018, the community has supported them tremendously, and says that they are all successful because of the community and supporting them, and talks about Blaque and Mel's skincare stuff and the stuff that Kimmy and Maurice are doing. And then Tisha says that basically the community is keeping the lights on, and that they get paid to present at other companies because of the comeback group and what they've talked about at the beginning about the comeback group. And Tisha says that she definitely wants to get sponsorships, but she feels like the money that they do raise should be given back to the community and not put in their pockets. Kimmy says that half of Tisha's speech was about the comeback group, and in regards to why Tisha feels like no one should get paid and about the whole money thing, she says it started with when they first got together, and Kimmy asked what it was called, trying to be smart, and Tisha says a comeback group. And Kimmy says that Tisha said it was 2018, but it was like 2016 or whatever, and she feels like that they're basically trying to use what they all started and get them to be a part of it, but use their idea for free. Martell interjects and asks, why don't they want to pay anyone? Because they do have people with big influences in there. And Tisha says, right. And then Martell basically brings up when Mel was talking about the paper post, and, basically she has to talk to her management about the stuff that she can do because she got to pay people. And Martell is basically like, ask Mel how much, she wants to get paid for. Like, don't shut her down. Tisha says she did ask, she emailed and nobody responded. And Marceau says, no confirmation meant nobody wanted to get paid. And in the confessional, Martell says, how were they going to start off the meeting saying that no one's getting paid? End of story. But Mel feels like that she should get paid because she's a public speaker and it's what she does. And Martell says he doesn't feel like, it's fair that they said no to no one getting paid, especially not to Mel. That wasn't fair, he says. And Maurice says that he wants to make his position clear, that he doesn't think anyone should get paid, and that he feels like that is a duty to the community, basically. Mel says that, to be honest, Tisha came in 10 toes down saying that she's not paying anybody, and says that is fine because, they came up with the idea, but finds it interesting that nobody mentioned sponsorship until she mentioned it, and says that her idea is being used but for something else, and basically for paying other people, and she's not feeling that. And Marceau says that he's asking them for their time and associates anyone with anyone at the table that wants to get paid is being greedy. And Tisha tries to cut in, but then Martell says, why would you say greedy? And Marceau says, making money off the people supporting you, he thinks is greedy. Tisha says she feels that they should put their egos to the side, and Kimmy is like, whoa, what you mean? And Mel says, well, what do you mean egos? And Marceau says asking for money on this, he feels like is a bit egotistical. Mel says that you can't tell her how much to put on these type of events that she goes to throughout the year. And Marceau says, well, you can't tell him how to think. And he says it's okay to feel how he feels. And Martell asks Marceau, how is it greedy? And Marceau says he feels that it's taking more. And Martell asks, well, what is more? And Mel says, well, when they talk about asking them to do this and then they don't support their stuff, she says that she has had the little Mel's with Mimosas things for 4 years. And Marceau says, well, going forward that they will support that kind of stuff. And Mel says that it's, too fresh for her right now. And Tisha says that it's not fair that Mel says that, that they don't support her when she tried to go to her little skincare launch. She got escorted out. Tisha says that she doesn't feel that's fair for Mel to say. And Melody says, but they are talking about sponsorships right now. And then the confessional, Tisha says that she knows Mel isn't talking about, being supportive of their businesses in the past when Mel didn't want her involved. And then they show a clip like season 2 of Mel getting Tisha escorted out. Now that's kind of different because she showed up uninvited, but I guess I see where Tisha's coming from. Tisha continues in the confessional and says that she's not trying to go there with Mel right now, and she's just trying to bring everyone together for this initiative, and she doesn't care how ridiculous everyone's being. She just wants to get this business done. And then Tisha tells everyone that the money would go to the small businesses, and Marceau says that they aren't charging for the event, they're paying for the event too. Tisha says that they're giving the money back to the community, and Kimmy says that she's going to say that she finds it hard to believe. And Tisha says, well, it came from her mind and from her head, so that's what she thought and that's what she said. And in the confessional, Kimmy says that she gets wanting to do the expo pro bono for the community, but she isn't sure that they are cool with losing money. At the end of the day, it's the Blaque Expo with the QU, not a CK, and it means it's all about business, and in business you're gonna lose money sometimes. And Kimmy says that she's not asking for money, she's asking to call it what it is. It's a comeback initiative, and they slapped a new under management name on it and made it sound pretty, but it is what it is. Maurice says that he agrees with Kimmy that this is their idea, and then Marceau says that he thinks that Maurice is confused a bit. And Maurice says no, he's not. They just basically recycled their idea, and then they show the to be continued. And basically, so Maurice and Kimmy don't want no money, and Melody and Martell want money. Per usual at the end of the day. But if you enjoyed this review, y'all, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to see you on the next one.